recording? Hi, brothers and sisters. I'm back. I'm actually going to pin this on 8th Day Dawning. I enabled my ability to post longer videos, so this will probably go on 8th Day Dawning. I didn't plan on making another video, and we'll see how this one goes. Hopefully it won't be too long, but if it is, in the event, I can still post it to 8th Day Dawning. I'm probably pretty close to wrapping this channel up too. So we're going to look at she who is called faithful and true. Go ahead, Mark. I don't care. I've proven to myself, and I've proven to the only one that it matters to, which is great God Almighty above, that I know the truth of the big old lie that got told and spilled off of the tongue of so many today. And they have fell into this snare, this religious lie. They refuse to use their brain between their ears. They refuse to use their eyes. They refuse to use simple reasoning. They've got nobody to blame for it but themselves, of course. But they all want to blame God for this. And so you can reject this truth and say, well, no, that's not truth. That's a lie. You can say that if you don't want to go in and study, because that's what you're doing. You're refusing to go in and study the truth. And that's fine. Go ahead, mock. But it'll be to your own peril. You understand that. So Revelation 6:2, and I saw and behold, so this is she who is called faithful and true. You can prove this by going in and study. That's right. You can prove it's she. That's right. And I saw and behold a white horse, and she that sat on her had a bow. A bow is a symbol of a covenant in the scriptures. And a crown. Now, the Latin word for crown here is corona. That's funny, isn't it? You can make a connection to that or not. But if you say too much, they may strike your video. So I'm not going to say too much. But just simply that the Latin word for crown here is corona. Now, the Greek word, of course, is Stephanos, I think. But anyway, and was given unto her, and she went forth conquering and to conquer. Yeah. Now, like I said, we looked at some, and I'm going to try to get this where I'm supposed to have it without dismissing it. All right, now I think I did it. Okay, so again, we read Revelation 6:2. And so if we go to Isaiah 29, did I want to do this yet? No, we're going to look at some words first. Revelation 6:2, sat on. This is one of the words we're actually going to look at. So it says, and I saw and behold a white horse, and she that sat on. Okay, so we're going to look at the word sat on, which is 2521, I believe. Let's just look this up real quick to make sure it is the Greek one that I got up here. So it's 2521. Yes. So it is the Greek word I have up. And this is important because it means to sit, to be seated. It means to be enthroned. I dwell. I reside. So this is actually showing you the enthroned one of daughter of Zion. That's who this is. And the only time we actually hear of an enthroned one is going to come up in Isaiah 52. And this is so important to our understanding. Otherwise, you're going to get everything all screwed up. As taught to you by the men on the pulpit who don't want to go in and study the divine feminine. They want nothing to do with it. Their forefathers taught them a lie that tickles their ears. It's like honey on their tongues. It's cobra's venom. It's wormwood in their stomach. It's the religious lie and law killing us all. Because they refuse to believe that it is feminine that is your life giver. Although it's really, I'm sure, to the heavenly above, they look at it and go, how can they not know that? I mean, hello, open your eyeballs. They don't want to do it. But here we have a reference to the enthroned one, Isaiah 52. Shake thyself from the dust, arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive who? Daughter of Zion. For thus saith the Lord, ye have sold yourself for naught, and ye shall be redeemed without money. Now what does that mean? What does that mean? It means she went and played man's harlot. That's what it means. And here, in one of the references, just on a side note, I was looking at this and I couldn't help but, the 30 pieces of silver come into my brain. For this is what the Lord says, you were sold for nothing and you will be redeemed without silver. What was Christ supposedly sold for? 30 pieces of silver. Yet you, daughter of Zion, will be redeemed without silver. What you got to be redeemed with? The truth. Which takes you to Isaiah 4:4. I will wash the blood off of you. What does she wash you with? Water. What did your mother ever wash you with? Water. That's right. So, and water is akin to your truth. We've looked at this over and over. So, again, we're going back to the enthroned one who is redeemed without money. That's silver in the translation, which is going to take you to the 30 pieces of silver that a man was supposedly sold for, and then his blood washes her clean. No, it stained her with sin is what his blood did. Yeah. Because she was not to hearken to the lying spirit and play man's harlot, which is what she did. So she says, shake yourself out of the dust. Oh, captive. What is she captivated by? A religious lie. She's captivated by man-made law that yokes women under those laws and says what you can and can't do. Men can always do something that a woman can't do. Women aren't allowed to do it because, well, they're women and you're not supposed to. And you can't. You don't have the power to do it. So says man-made religious lies and laws, which then becomes your government system upon this world, which we've already looked at. So, bow. All right, and her bow. And we're going to go back here in a minute. 5115 means a covenant, which takes you to Genesis 49:23. She is the daughter with her bow, her covenant that abode in strength. It's from the word tikto, 5088. Gave birth. Oh, look. Gave birth. She gives birth to her covenant. Through who? Through her firstborn. Who is who? Her daughters, which we looked at, called Ephraim, her firstborn upon this world. That's right. And we're told it's the daughter Zion that's going to go into the battle and also judge. That's right. Because she has borne the double. Where do we find that? Isaiah 40. And now it says her warfare is over. No, her warfare, in my opinion, has just begun. When she's borne the double, that means she's retrieved both covenants, are hers now, to put in play. And we're going to read a commentary that's going to prove that that's exactly what's going on. So here we are reading in Isaiah 40. I got Isaiah 29. I want Isaiah 40. Where's Isaiah 40? I just had it pulled up. Oh, it's on another string. Okay, so just a minute. Okay, Isaiah 40. Comfort ye, not my people, my daughters, saith your God. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished. No, it's not. It's accomplished per se for her. All right? So technically she's not going into warfare. She's simply going to go into judgment now. So her personal warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned. Why is it pardoned? Because she has received of the Lord's hand double for all her sin. She wasn't redeemed with a man's blood. You see what it's saying here of the daughters, which is the firstborn of mother's womb, which we've looked at. So it says, the voice of him, no, her, that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. So who she's making the highway straight for? Well, if we go to Isaiah 42, she says, now will I go forth as a travailing woman, I will destroy and I will devour at once. You see, she's no longer at war, per se, for herself, as she is now in judgment against the children of earth. And she says, I will destroy and I will devour at once. I will make crooked things straight. I will lead them in paths that they have not known. These things will I do and not forsake them. So it's her going forth. And she's shown actually bringing forth her firstborn Ephraim, which is her daughters that we find in passages like Micah 4, like Jeremiah 31, is it, or 30? And we've looked at these passages, and there's another passage that, I can't remember where it is now. But there's Zephaniah. Zephaniah chapter 3. And it's clearly identified that she's bringing forth her daughters. So it says, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. See, she's making a straight path. Who was called God upon this earth? God upon this earth was known as Israel. And that was through the feminine, through the daughters of Israel. And that's why you get the sons of God, the sons of Zion. They were known as the sons of God because they were the sons of the daughters of Israel, who were known as God. So in Isaiah 42, it says, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Now we also get a passage about the high priest. And I believe it's Malachi chapter 3. And of course they get the genders all screwed up and the wording all wrong, in my opinion, which I didn't actually go in and look at, but I had looked at it before. But what the high priest's purpose is, and that's Joshua, it's not Jesus. There is a distinction between the two. Jesus is akin to the Antichrist, in my opinion, that was built up from that idol that Nebuchadnezzar made in Daniel chapter 2. And then each successive kingdom is shown adding a new part to that male statue. Yes, it goes down in its preciousness as the entire system becomes more violent and more beast-like, is your idea of violent, perpetuating and writing more laws of violence against their sisters and against one another in general. But you see the building up of that statue as these successive kingdoms come, and they actually give life to the image to breathe and to perform miracles, which began with that gold idol in Daniel chapter 2 of Nebuchadnezzar. Now, what we know of the beast system, right, is that King Solomon changed the portion in the midst of Basra. Now, what that means is the house in the forest of Lebanon is where the government of God is identified as meeting, which is the congregation of the Lord identified as women. When King Solomon made all these covenant with the kings of the surrounding Adamic nation to take their daughters in covenant as wives, what he did is he changed the portion in the midst from the key of David, which were righteous women who spoke the laws of Mother God upon their tongue, to a harlot spirit that would teach him and his religious lies and laws and build man up. Now, what that means is it's the beast system. So the only time you ever see the number 666 mentioned in the scriptures, other than in Revelations where it says you identify the number of men, is going to link you straight back to King Solomon, who had gold come to him as 666 pounds of gold in a year. Where did that come from? Well, I'm going to tell you, it came from that statue that Nebuchadnezzar made of a man. Male. That's right. So I'm going to tell you that the Joshua of the Old Testament is not Jesus of the New. Jesus of the New is what empowers men and says he's your head of the church, which is feminine, and is she's the bride of him. That's right. Which is in everybody who says Jesus died and his blood washes me clean. Well, that's the religious lie, as I believe it really took full effect under the kingdom that would have you with the Greeks out front, that particular kingdom, Midianites. And anyway, the New Testament is identified as Greek. And so, they came in and they stole the truth once again from these daughters, and they allowed it to be so. And again, I looked at that in the video, and I don't know that I posted it, but I probably don't have it saved anymore to post. But so what we see, make straight a highway in, for your God, is these women's coming back to Israel that are birthed by that spirit that you see in Isaiah 42. And so, where was I going with this? Malachi chapter 3, the high priest, who is not Jesus of the New, but is Joshua of the Old. He is the high priest that teaches a new group of men who are called the priests. I think they're of the seed of Zadok. I'm not sure, but I think it's Zadok. It's a Z anyway. And he comes to teach them how to behave and go into the divine feminine, which is God. the Holy One, the Spirit. That's right. So, as you see in these two passages, she is not cleansed by blood. She is washed with the word of truth from her mother. That's right, Mother Israel from above. So, like we say, crown means corona in Latin, covenant, bow. It means her covenant. And that takes you to Genesis. It takes you to Genesis. Well, let me see if I can get this going here. Genesis 49, where the archers who were Baal, identified as your husbands, who shot at the branches, who were identified as your female scions, who flowed like a living water from Lebanon. They were called your key of David, in total opposition of the key of Solomon, which was what was built up by the Masons. And makes you a link to the Freemasons there. So they built up a harlot spirit that would teach this idol, male idol. And it says, the archers have sorely grieved her and shot at her and hated her. That's right. And the Shulamite says, look not upon me, because the sun has looked upon me. I am black, she says. So that's telling you the false light that shone upon her. She says, my mother's sons were angry with me, hated me. They made me the keeper of the vineyard, but my own vineyard have I not kept, taught, shepherded. So here we have the archers that grieved her, shot at her, and hated her. They're shooting at the branches, which are identified as female scions, daughters, running over the wall of David, that King Solomon daubed up, installed a harlot spirit in the house in the forest of Lebanon. What's interesting, the temple, which represents the male body, took 7 years to build. It will tell you that his palace, it wasn't his palace. It was supposed to be the Holy One's palace, the Queen's palace. And Solomon was to be in covenant with this daughter of Bashan, not Babylon, but Bashan, which is Lebanon. And she dwelt in the house in the forest of Lebanon and flowed like a living water through that wall that then he daubs up, and then he takes all these harlot women in covenant and places them in the house in the forest of Lebanon. And it tells us the house in the forest of Lebanon, which was supposed to be his palace. No, it wasn't his palace, it was hers. Represents her body. The tabernacle below reflects the one above. There's two here. There's male and a female. The male temple took Solomon 7 years to build. The house in the forest of Lebanon, it says 13 years. I think it took 14. And it takes us back to this passage in Isaiah 40, which I'm not sure that I finished reading it all. Let me see here. Where's my passages? Okay. It says this in Isaiah 40. It says that her iniquity is pardoned, for she has received of the Lord's hand double. You see the double? You see the double for all her sins. It doesn't say he received it. Now, the 7 years for the temple, Solomon took 7 years for the temple, but the house in the forest of Lebanon, and I'm going to say this outright, it didn't take him 13 years, it took him 14 years. That's double. That represents her palace that then is going to link you to Song of Songs chapter 8. All right, so you go and look at that. It says, if you be a palace, we will build ye walls of silver or something like that. But what else is notable here is the XY. All right, so, and the XX for the female. So you have an X, which would be your 7 years, and you have an XX for your female, which is a house in the forest of Lebanon. You have a 14 there. Then you have Israel, tell Israel she has received of the Lord's hand, which is female, our mother, for playing man's harlot. She says, you see what happens when you play his harlot? I will cause you to drink the wine of astonishment, and what he will do to you when he is put in a position of writing the laws, and he will yoke you under him, and he will write a beast system that will come against you. That's right. But the interesting thing about the XY is it said, when a woman had a male child, For her menstrual cycle to be cleansed, it was 7 days, so that's 1 week. And 33 days, right, to be purified after the birth of a male child. For a female, it was double that. It was 14 days and then 66. So we see the double here. The thing that you miss is the why is the clay. And the clay don't have to be cleansed. It's the spirit that must be cleansed. And so we get the idea of the adversary. If you look that word adversary up, it's going to say a rival wife. So you have the XX, you have the harlot exalted in man's heart. She's got to take that harlot out. And that's the warfare. All right? That's right. Taking that harlot out of the heart of this body. Now understand, it also says the spirit rules all things. An XY cannot give life to an XX. An XX gives life to all things. It gives life to the XY, it gives life to XX. But it also testifies that spirit rules over all things. The body and the spirit. That's what the Bible says. That's not me saying it. It says the Y chromosome is 1/3 the size of the X. So women typically possesses 33% more genetic material than a male does. It says the tabernacle below reflects the one above. That's right, so we're made in the image of our mother. Our father couldn't make us if we go by that simple truth. Science would testify that that's a simple truth. It acts as if the energy in the female chromosomes is what would actually cause us to live forever. When they took her out and caused her to be a harlot and play into this religious lie of male, male, male giving life, that's when death took over, right? So it's only her coming back into existence, all right? So we see this XY and XX. It's the XX, I think technically, and you'll laugh at this, we should actually be called womankind, not mankind. But you can laugh at that. Because man can't give life. Woman gives life. And she possesses the genetic material, and she is also identified as the spirit component on earth. Now, if we go here to, now where did I want to go? Okay, Isaiah 52. This is where you see the enthroned one, and we link her to sitting upon the horse with her covenant. In Revelation 6:2, she bore the double, so both covenants are in her possession now, right? She is the ruler. And she now has the ability to cut away the foreskin. All right? And that means those women that are playing man's harlot and bound to a he, as if that's God, and not to the life giver who gives life to all things, which is she. And to those men that exalt a harlot in their heart so they can be exalted as mighty and godlike and superior. And this is her right to judge now. So you have the right to receive her words of truth, love, life, eternal life, or you have the right to reject them. And in the moment that you reject them, you will be cut away. So, enthroned, shake thyself from the dust, arise and sit down, O Jerusalem, loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion. So she's shaking herself out of the dust. Well, where else do we find her doing that? Well, we find her in Isaiah 29 doing this. And she says in verse 4, and thou shalt be brought down. And women were forced to drink the wine of astonishment. When women began to build men up as if he was God and all things was found through the male and the life giver was male, even though that's a barefaced lie. God says you are without excuse not to understand my Godhead. I manifested in the things that I created for your eyes to bear witness to. Where do you see a man that gives life? Jeremiah 30 verse 6, I think it is. Why now do I see every man with his hands on his hips as a woman in travail, and every face turned pale? A man, ask ye now and see, does a man give life? No. That's what your answer should be. Why now do I see every face turn pale? Because they're trying to deliver the children, which are called the burden by the lying prophets in Jeremiah 23. They don't deliver children. She does. And that's why the Shulamite says, but my own vineyard I have not kept. She was always the intended shepherdess of the flock of the children of the host. And you see her sitting on the white horse with her host back in her possession, which was a promise made to the firstborn of mother's womb in Isaiah 49, that she would indeed claim them all as her children. And that was daughter Israel, the woman's seed, which is identified as female, not male. It's not a son. It's a daughter. So Isaiah 52, shake thyself and shake yourself out of the dust and take back your throne. And then she says to the harlot in Isaiah 47, come down, daughter Babylon, the lady of the kingdom, the queen, the harlot that man has exalted in his heart. That's his queen, a harlot spirit that'll bow to him and give him just what he wants. But he's the Lord of dung. He taught a whole bunch of lying S-H out his butt. That's what he taught. And he's called Lord of Dung, which is going to link you back to Beelzebub, which is going to link you back to Satan the accuser, which takes you all the way back to Adam, who accused and lied. And there's this idea, when I went in and I did a study in there, I hit the word that he actually pierced the woman when he accused her, when he pointed at her. She was pierced. She went into a deep mourning that her other half would dare point at her and accuse her of these horrible things. And she says, they accuse me of these horrible things, and I know not what they're talking about. She says, I don't know what he's talking about. I didn't do these things. And yet they gnashed and gnashed upon her until they had removed the spirit of her covenant, of faithfulness and truth out of the land. And yet God says right here, and thou shalt be brought down, and you shall speak out of the ground. Who? Ariel, the lioness of God, identified as Israel in Ezekiel 19, and what they continually did to the scepters that the nation of Israel brought forth over and over and over again until they had finally took her into captivity under bondage of his religious lies and laws. Not getting it? It's all there. And thou shalt be brought down, and shall speak out of the ground, and thy speech shall be low out of the dust. And thy voice shall be as of one that hath a familiar spirit. I like this version here. Brought low, you will speak from the ground. Your speech will mumble out of the dust. Your voice will come ghost-like. Ghost-like? That's the Holy Ghost. From the earth. Out of the dust of your speech will whisper. So she's hearing the spirit of her covenant being spoken of, once again, on these daughters' tongues. They're holding no guile. That's your first fruits. And the word in Revelations 14:4, defile, will link you back to the word black, which is important because the Shulamite says, look not upon me, because I am black, because the sun has looked upon me, the false light has looked upon me. My mother's sons were angry with me, they made me the keeper of the vineyard. Who'd they make the keeper of the vineyard? The harlot that would beckon to him in his lies and build him up and continually teach the lie to the children, that would build man up as God. That takes you back to Isaiah 54, to the wife that he married, which is Baal himself, teaching his lies. A man inside of a man, a religious lie, his own lies, that tastes like honey on his tongue, but is wormwood in his stomach. It will kill us all. It was always meant to be her covenant, spoken off of her mouth, off of her tongue, in the house in the forest of Lebanon, which King Solomon was 14 years in building. Isaiah 22 tells us what he did about the house in the forest of Lebanon, how he came against the righteous daughters and placed a harlot spirit within him that would teach man as God. That's why he worshipped Moloch. Moloch means king. And they'll blame the women. Oh no, Solomon wanted this. He wanted himself worshipped as a god. Yeah. And that's why it says, speaks of the wisdom about that prince, which is King Solomon, in Tyre, in Ezekiel 28, it says, thou art wiser than Daniel. Well, who was wiser than Daniel? King Solomon. That's who. And that's who changed the portion in the midst. That's the number of the man. That's the beast system. The beast system is a violent system that over time went from men who were like gold. The sons of Zion, the sons of God, were like gold in the beginning because they hearkened to the spirit of Mother God's covenant through the mouth of her daughters. But over time, they began to write more and more blood and violence into the law that were perpetuated against them in particular. And you find that as a written truth in Malachi 2. They want to put against your brothers, against the sons. No, it was clearly against their own spirit, their own wife. Women that they were writing these laws against. Violence into the law. And God says, you who were once like the value of gold. And she says this in Lamentations 4:1. When the sons of God, the sons of Zion, they're called there, in Lamentations 4:1, began to offer up a blood libation as the mothers of wisdom of Israel were crucified or pierced or murdered on the corners, and they began to offer up blood as opposed to the water that they were supposed to be offering up. And it says, you who were once the value of gold have come down to the worth of nothing more than clay pots. Well, we see that in the statue. And we see the slow building up of the beast system. A male as your God is your idea. They give life to the image to breathe and to perform great miracles. Yep. Through the written words of one of these kingdom Greek in the New Testament that says it's a man that's your Messiah. No. The stone rejected before the foundation of the world is identified as the daughter of Israel, the daughter of Zion. They did not want her in covenant. Okay, so we ain't got very far on this. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to post this. And then I'm going to do another video later on in the day. And I'm going to post that a little bit later on. But we hear a familiar spirit, as of one who speaketh out of the dust of the earth. And it is so easy to understand this. A child can understand it. And so I thought it was important that we make this, we recap it before I completely finish up. And so we'll continue. We'll pick it up. All right. And I'm going to end the video there. I don't want it too long. This will be for 8th day dawning. I pray the Lord blesses you with an abundance of truth. I'll probably rewatch this video just to see what I did miss. And I'll hopefully do another part later on in the day. And I thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a really nice day. Thanks.